It's been a great day, as you already said, though, Ryan.
It has been a great day. First of all, shout out to just the sports information staff at CU, and especially Curtis Snyder for setting it up for us to be able to talk to these guys. And also Coach Prime, because not all coaches allow their assistants to have press conferences with the media.
Right.
Especially in these situations where you don't have to do it. So a really cool opportunity provided to us today to not just talk to the coordinators, which sometimes you get the opportunity to, but to talk to most of the offensive staff.
Yep. Tons of takeaways. I mean, Brewster was Coach Brew 100%.
Yep.
Coach Boyle, we hear a lot about how quiet that guy is, but we got a lot of information from him. We'll get into it all, but first we have news on the recruiting front in terms of the transfer portal. The Buffs got another wide receiver, Ryan. I don't know if it's the big one we were talking about, but it's a notable one nonetheless.
Yes. An interesting timing altogether on this. I almost would have thought that it would have been like a package deal with him and Jimmy Horn.
Right.
But nonetheless, the two of them, very effective for a South Florida team last year that was really bad. And it kind of goes back to something I said yesterday, which was if you took the 5 best players from every bad team in the country and made a new team with them,
right,
you would have a great team. Now, that's not what the Buffs are doing here. But just because South Florida was bad does not mean that Jimmy Horn and Xavier Weaver were not beasts. And to be fair, they produced quite a bit with very questionable quarterback play.
Yep, for sure. Weaver actually led USF in receiving last year. It wasn't Jimmy Horn. He's listed at 6'1", 170. So, I mean, we always talked about the big receiver, and that's what they were looking for. I mean, you get a little size, but it seems like we're just doubling down on speed and athleticism.
Totally.
Combined last season, Jimmy Horn and Xavier Weaver 90 receptions, 1,269 yards, and 9 touchdowns. I think you can do better than that with Shedeur Sanders at quarterback this year.
I think so, too. He's going to be weaving in and out of coverages.
There you go. Do you have a horn pun, too?
I could. It might not be as appropriate.
Good point. Good point.
Xavier Weaver. Jimmy pun, too.
There you go. Going back to 2019, which is when Xavier Weaver was a recruit out of Orlando Christian Prep, Orlando, Florida. Ranked 1,936 nationally, but the guy can play ball, man.
Yeah, he can. Again, curious to see what the services have to say about him as a transfer. Because Jimmy Horn was a 4-star transfer, right?
If you give me a minute, I will find out for sure.
I'm pretty confident that Jimmy Horn was a 4-star transfer, at least by On 3. Because I remember them. Remember they made a video where they said he was like the number 1 transfer wide receiver?
Yeah.
So I thought they really coveted him. I was going to say, if he's a 4-star receiver and he produced more in the same offense, that says a lot. And maybe you get another 4-star transfer wide receiver out of him.
So pulling it up right now, Jimmy Horn is rated as a...
You were really aggressive with that original scroll.
Well, I thought he was down near the bottom because he was one of the first ones, but I don't see his name now.
Do you not have Command F on that old...
Oh, I do have Command F. Thank you for reminding me how technology works. All right, he doesn't show up on the page.
He's not on there, so...
I don't know what to tell you, man.
All right.
I tried.
That's great.
But this receiving core, man, it's getting pretty stacked. These are just the headliners for the receiving core. Travis Hunter, Jimmy Horn, Jordan Tyson, Montana Lamonius Craig, Chase Sewell, and then you have incomers Adam Hopkins, Omarion Miller, Asad Wasim, now Xavier Weaver. I mean, there's Jacob Page. Also, there's tons of other guys on the roster that have said or shown some promise at times. Ty Robinson, Grant, who else? Grant Page, is that another one?
Jacob Page?
Jacob Page is a recruit.
Right. But is he a wide receiver?
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and quickly, Jimmy said, where can I see this press conference? Anyone? I think it'll be up on the Buffs TV channel at some point today. Unfortunately, we were actually hoping to cut up some clips and show them on here. We just didn't get the file in time for the show, and we knew you guys would be upset if we made you wait.
Yeah.
But we'll probably maybe play some clips of it tomorrow.
Yeah.
And circle back around to some of it because there's an hour of stuff we're probably not going to be able to talk about every single quote today. But I do want to point out, we were one of, what would you say, 8 media in there asking questions.
Yeah, couldn't have been more than 10, I don't think. So.
And I just think that's cool. Obviously, there's a lot of places doing YouTube content right now, and everyone brings something different. And I appreciate everyone who's kind of rode with us to this point. I'm excited for stuff like this, where we have another level of access to this stuff, or as we get closer to spring practices and things like that, where we can kind of show our value in different ways in terms of having access to the coaches and to the players and hopefully to the practices.
Yeah, very special opportunity. Hopefully we get a few more. But it was a lot of fun. It's very different in the old press conference room. Not even the old press conference room, the usual press conference room, as opposed to being in the touchdown club when there's like 150 people in there.
Where are they going to do you think they're still going to do post-game press conferences in that room?
So I asked someone today, and I think that's what they're trying to work out. But I mean, who knows? You saw today what it was like, and that wasn't even the full
It wasn't
scrum.
It wasn't full by any means today, but I wouldn't call it spacious.
Right.
So you add in ESPN and Sports Illustrated and all the other, every news outlet in Colorado is going to be interested in the games. I think they're going to need a bigger room.
Maybe in the touchdown club a lot more this year.
Yeah, but the touchdown club is used during the games.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We got to figure it out. Let's talk about the press conference. But before, shout out to our friends at DraftKings Sportsbook. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. The Nuggets play tonight?
The Nuggets finally play tonight.
Let's go. Do we know who they're playing?
Right as we finish this show, they play. Might need to get some bets in.
There you go. Okay, so I got it. They're playing the Cavs.
All right, there we go.
In Cleveland, we have the Cavs as 3-point favorites.
We love to see that. It also means we're probably going to get good value on Nikola Jokic props, which I'm literally going to bet right now.
Nuggets money line?
Nuggets money line parlayed with Joker triple-double.
There you go. Shout out to DraftKings
Nuggets
Sportsbook.
Undefeated, by the way, when Joker gets a triple-double.
Even better. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Sign up with code DNVR. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, with code DNVR. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. Also, shout out to our friends at Jive Hive. Jive Hive is a virtual dispensary on wheels who can deliver to you wherever you may be. If you're at your job and you want a discreet delivery for your weed, Jive Hive's got you covered. They also have low pricing and convenient options to get that weed to you. Just check out jivehive.com. That's JIVEHYVE.com. Put your address in there and see if you are in their delivery area. You can schedule a delivery or you can get it delivered same day. Jive Hive now serving in Aurora, Greenwood Village, Monument, Fountain, and various areas of El Paso County. That's JIVEHYVE.com. Don't drive, Jive Hive.
Plus 260 on Nuggets win, Joker triple-double.
Love it. Free money? Buffs play tonight too.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Forgot about that. Buffs are playing right now, actually. The women's.
Women's, yes.
I believe they're ranked number 21 in the country.
I'm a big fan of J.R. Payne, the coach there.
Yeah.
She is a badass.
She's got a hell of a program going, and she gets Shelomai Sanders next year, too.
Exciting.
Yeah, Buffs basketball tonight against USC. That'll be fun. Let's talk about this press conference. Do we just start and go down the order?
Yeah, let's try. I mean, there's a lot to remember.
There is, yeah.
Which is why I'm excited to kind of go back through it and see some of the clips later today and then come back with some more tomorrow.
For sure. Also, guys, get your questions in now and hit that thumbs up button while you're at it. We'll get to your questions at the end of the show. All right, Sean Lewis. First off, really tall.
Really tall.
But he is fired up to be there, and he even had little moments where he was like sentimental about Kent State, talked about the decision to leave, said it was very, very tough, one of the toughest decisions he ever had to make. But he's happy, and he's not even watching film yet.
Yeah, that was a really interesting thing that he said. And in fact, he made it seem like he doesn't ever want to watch film.
Yeah.
Not of ever.
Right.
He doesn't want to watch film on players on the roster this year of what they were doing last year. And I thought it was a really interesting philosophy that he had on this. He essentially said, I want to evaluate these guys off of what they can do in my offense.
Yep.
I don't want to evaluate them off of what they were doing last year because I don't know how they were being coached.
Right.
I don't know what the techniques they were being taught. I don't know anything about what was going on last year. So I don't want to see, he didn't say this directly, but what he was essentially saying is I don't want to see film of a guy playing like shit and then just have this thought in my mind that he can't play.
Mm-hmm.
You take the guys you have, you put them out there in spring practice, and not to mention you also have fall camp. He's going to get a chance to, how many spring practices are there?
I think it's like 14 or something like that.
Okay, so you get 14 there, and then what, like another 20 for the fall?
Yeah, you get, a month and a half?
Yeah, so maybe even more. He's going to get to see these guys practice, let's say, upwards of 40 times.
Right.
Doing what he wants to do. So he wants to be able to make his own decisions on how these guys fit based off of what he's doing here. And I think that's really cool. And what a great opportunity for the players who were on this team last year.
Oh, yeah.
We've talked about how there are talented kids on this team last year. And because of him saying that, they have a clean slate. Mm-hmm. So they don't have to worry about, I'll say it even though I said I never want to hear it again, they don't have to worry about 1-11 and how that reflected on them as a player. All they have to worry about is this playbook, this coaching staff, impress them and earn your way in.
I asked Sean Lewis kind of where he got the influences and the, I guess, his mentors in terms of forming his offense. He talked a lot about Dino Babers at Syracuse.
Yes.
And of course, I mean, he was co-OC and quarterbacks coach there, so he had his hands in that offense. But that's been a really, really fast offense, just lightning quick.
And Dino Babers comes off the Bryles tree. Is that right?
Let me look it up.
I think so. I think he was Baylor.
He is, Baylor from 2008 to 2011.
Okay, so, what about before that?
Before that, UCLA.
Okay.
He's been a lot of places.
Yeah, I think the offense that they were running there was very Baylor-based. Mm-hmm. And that's what you're seeing, from Sean Lewis as well. And I talked about that, triple option that they were running with Robert Griffin with the wide receiver out in the flat. Mm-hmm. You can hand it off, the quarterback can keep it, or you can sling it out there to the flat. It's an impossible thing to defend.
Right.
So that's, one of the base core principles of that is just forcing the defense to make choices and exploiting whatever choice they decide to make. You're going to play 10 yards off. We're going to sling it out to Dylan Edwards in the slot.
Yep.
You want to play up tight? Guess what? We're going deep to Jimmy Horn. It's just, it's simple stuff, but it's important for it to be simple at this level. Mm-hmm. And it really is. If you have a quarterback that you trust, just go get it.
Yep.
Just trust your eyes, trust your instincts, and go play. And I asked Coach Lewis, what makes a great play caller? What's the difference between a good player and a great play caller? And he actually kind of switched it around to what makes a good offensive coordinator and a bad offensive coordinator, because the big thing he mentioned was scheming to your players.
Yep.
You got to be able to scheme to your players. And, he said, I think in coaching sometimes we get so rigid in this is what we do and this is how we want to attack teams that we forget or we move away from, well, what is this player who's going to be on the field for me when push comes to shove? What does he do well? Not what do I call well? What does he do well? And he pointed directly to it. Like, you need to know when you need a big conversion on 3rd and 6 at the end of the game, what does the guy that I want to get the ball here do best? Mm-hmm. And I'm going to do that. And that was like music to my ears. Yep. And I think a lot of coaches talk about this, but it was clear at Kent State that he really practiced what he preached there and figured out ways to get players the ball in spaces, in positions that they can do damage.
Yeah, I think just on that, I don't think Sean Lewis designs an offense or calls an offense based on his ego or anything. It's truly about the players, what they do well, trying to put them in positions to succeed. He was a former player at Wisconsin, and he also talked about Bret Bielema and just how being at Wisconsin kind of formed his offensive philosophy. And it comes through when you watch Kent State because they do have that Baylor stuff, but man, they love to pound the rock too. And it's really like the merging of that Baylor spread and the Wisconsin just kind of ram it down your throat offensive style.
Yep. Oh, also, I think this is the first time anyone here is seeing Studio B.
Yeah, it's been a minute. It's been a minute.
Or at least a lot of people. So yes, not a new room. This is since there's a Nuggets game starting soon. They are in Studio A. We are in Studio B.
Henry and I did a podcast in here, like, I think 1 or 2 podcasts before Coach Prime was hired.
Wow.
Yeah. We got 50 viewers. We were like, yes, this is so awesome. Next coach, that was Gary Harrell.
Oh, yes.
Gary Harrell, of course, has been with Coach Prime at Jackson State, was the interim head coach there. That's what I wanted to ask him. I didn't get a chance to ask that question, but I wanted to know what he learned kind of as an interim head coach. He was the head coach at Howard University for a while.
HBCU lifer, really.
Yeah, for real. He told us where Flea came from, too.
Yeah, I thought that was great. Essentially said it was college, right?
I think he said high school.
I think he originally said high school, then he said college, so I was confused. We'll say high school. He got sent back at what did he say, 5'6", 150 pounds to go return a punt. He took it to the house. The coach said, do it again. He took the second one to the house, and he said one of the coaches turned to the assistant and said, we got a flea on our hands. And it just stuck with him ever since, which is just it's a great nickname.
Yep. He talked about, he was asked kind of like lead back versus running back by committee. He mentioned guys like Deion Smith, Hankerson by name.
Yep.
I don't know if he mentioned Kvassier Smoke or Dylan Edwards, but it really seems like it's going to be a true committee, and that's not surprising to me.
He did say you prefer to have a bell cow.
Right.
But essentially said with the speed that we want to go and Coach Lewis wants to go, which everyone touched a little bit on the speed that Coach Lewis wants to go, you're going to have to keep guys fresh and rotate them in and out. And we know, to be honest, you can't really do the bell cow back in college anymore because you'll lose guys. You know, like you have to get guys on the field or else they'll just transfer. Of course, if you have Derrick Henry or someone in your backfield, like let him transfer. But for the most part, I can't think of a team in the country this year that did bell cow.
Yeah.
Even like Zach Charbonnet is sharing carries.
Right. Travis Dye, even when he was getting like 20 carries a game, you would see a bunch of other backs coming in. Austin Jones, I think, is the other one. Anything else from Gary Harrell?
He said something that I found to be, yesterday I talked about not letting ego get in the way of your dreams and goals. And he said something that I found to be really along those lines, which was he gravitated to Coach Prime because he said in this business there are people who can take you places that you probably can't take yourself.
Yep.
And Coach Prime was that person to him. And again, like, you put ego aside and just do the best thing, you're going to end up in great positions. And obviously he's been elevated now, and I bet you he'll have another chance to be a head coach at some point. But just the fact that he was, he just said, like, Coach Prime can take me places that I couldn't take myself.
Right. Shout out DCB channel for dropping the CU score in the chat for us. Also, Gary Harrell, Sleeping Giant reference.
Yes, I wanted to ask him about that, but it was pretty quick. We got about 10 minutes with each coach. I think you got 2 questions in on a couple, but it was pretty much one and done, if that, on most of these coaches. But I wanted to ask him, like, if he can feel what's happening as the sleeping giant is awakening, because he used that term. And I think when you talk about sleeping giant, you talk about the program, but also the fan base. And I just see, like, you're just seeing Buffs gear everywhere now, and just the way people are talking about it. And, like, I want to know if they can feel from inside the building what's happening outside the building from a fan base perspective.
Maybe we'll get an opportunity to talk to them again soon.
Yep.
Next guy, Bill O'Boyle. A guy who's been talked about as being quiet, doesn't say too much, but I really enjoyed listening to him speak today.
The surprise of the press conference, just in terms of, like, we saw his video. He's like, I don't really talk much. Proud to be your coach.
Right. Yeah.
So I just wasn't expecting much from him. And we have a video of kind of our quick takeaways that's going to go out on the channel a little bit later. But I mentioned in there, like, he maybe didn't have the longest answers, but they felt so well thought out and, just really honest and pure thoughts.
Yep. If I can pat myself on the back, I felt he talked about Savion Washington for like 2 minutes when I asked him about him.
Yes.
He really likes him, man. Like, he loves that guy. He said he was holding his breath, hoping that Savion would come to Colorado with him and Sean Lewis. Of course, that ended
And
up
holding his
happening.
breath that Savion would stay at Kent State when they were there.
Yeah. And he also said his development curve is still climbing. Sounds like the Buffs really got a special tackle in Savion Washington.
Yeah, and I mean, we saw it right away when we watched the Sean Lewis film. And you know what else we saw when we watched the Sean Lewis film was how important offensive line play is to this offense. Mm-hmm. And I asked Coach OB, essentially, he said this is a really fun offense for offensive linemen. And I think that's true. You know, he mentioned pulling out to a corner from the left side all the way to a right corner and just getting to mow them down.
Yep.
Pulling from a guard to a safety and just getting to run these guys over. Like, that is fun for those guys rather than, as he described it, pushing forward 3 yards and running back to the huddle. Mm-hmm. Like, these guys get to go. But I said to him, like, you use the word fun. When I watch it, I see demanding.
Yeah.
You know, do you agree with that? And he essentially said, well, I don't know if demanding is the right word, but it requires big-time athletes and a love of the grind. Because especially, and he said it, there's a lot of work to do with these guys.
Mm-hmm.
The number one thing that they're going to have to do is get in shape.
Yep.
Offensive linemen in most offenses don't run nearly as much as these guys are going to.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the combination of that pace, along with the altitude, along with forcing these offensive linemen to get in incredible shape, if you get that done, this is going to be an even more scary weapon. Because you know who doesn't want to run around like that? The defensive lineman. And is not being trained to pull and run and go like that. Those guys are going to be gassed come fourth quarters when, you know, they've been trying to get out to the edge and chase down these pulling guards and tackles, and of course the ball carrier all game long. So I thought it was really fascinating just him talking about how much he loves this offense and how, while it might be demanding, he didn't say it, it's also really fun.
Yeah. You kind of mentioned it. The quote, "They got a lot of work to do," was when he was asked about Colorado offensive linemen from last year that are still on the roster.
Yep.
That was an interesting quote. What else? I thought someone said a comment. Tyler Brown. Tyler Brown he's working these guys in these like tug of war drills that they're doing and well off.
Yep.
He's going to be a stud for Bill O'Boyle.
Defense dominated this last one. I think the one before that, the offense dominated.
Yeah.
Another thing Bill O'Boyle said that I found to be an incredible feather in the cap of Sean Lewis was Sean called him when he knew about the interest from Coach Prime and just said, "What do you think of Colorado?" And Coach O'Boyle said, "I don't care where you're going, I'm going with you."
Yeah.
And he just said, like, what an honor it is to coach with Sean Lewis. And I mean, this is a dude who, Sean Lewis is a young guy.
Yeah.
Bill O'Boyle has been almost in coaching for as long as Sean Lewis has been on this earth.
For sure.
And for him to speak about Sean Lewis in a way that sounds like, I don't know, like a young coach coaching under Mike Shanahan. Like, that was the level of praise he had for Sean Lewis. And those two are essentially, in my opinion, a match made in heaven. Like, the way that OB gets those guys running this offense, I think they kind of have to be a package deal.
Yep. Bill O'Boyle, 59 years old. Sean Lewis, 36. You got to be a pretty damn good football coach to have someone almost 25 years older than you willing to follow you like that. Yeah.
And respect you at that level.
For sure. Next up, Bret Bartolone. Talked a lot about Mike Leach, and, you know, of course, that was huge in getting him the OC gig at Jackson State last year. Also talked a lot about Jordan Tyson. What else did he talk about?
Shedeur Sanders.
Shedeur, of course, yes.
And that was my favorite part.
Yep.
He said Shedeur has the best arm talent of anyone he's been around at this level. Pointed to Carson Strong as a guy that he
He had a cannon, by the way.
Worked alongside Carson Strong. Basically, only had a cannon.
Yeah, literally.
And he said it's the best, and he's worked with Carson Strong. So he's saying he has more arm talent than Carson Strong, which is high praise. He said he can work every single part of the field. And we've talked a lot about, I think, Shador's IQ, which he mentioned as well. But he just wanted to talk about the arm.
Yeah.
And I think that is high praise for Shador, and he certainly does have that arm talent. And I think he maybe hasn't even peaked in terms of where that arm is going to be by the time he reaches the NFL. And I'm just excited to see how Coach Lewis, Coach Prime, Shador decide to use that arm talent to exploit defenses.
Yeah, Coach Lewis actually talked about Shador too. I don't remember exactly. I mean, it was like one of the first questions, so that kind of got lost. About Jordan Tyson, though, I thought he had a great quote about him. This isn't a complete quote. You'll hear the whole thing when it is released. But basically, he said, Jordan Tyson is a phenomenal player. We look forward to getting him back in the fall. The talent level is there. It's just a matter of getting him acclimated to the new system.
Yep,
He loves
and
him.
said he's disappointed that he's not going to be able to participate in the spring, which we expected.
Right.
But did point to hopefully getting him back in the fall.
Yeah.
And he sounded confident in that.
Yep. Coach Sanford sounded confident when he told us last year that he would be ready for the season. So it sounds like everything's going well there. Are we ready to go to Brewster?
I'm ready.
Let's go. Then our guy, man, Tim Brewster walks up and, as advertised, man, I asked him why he thinks he's such a great recruiter. He went into a whole spiel about how he loves recruiting. And
that
it's
was
all
the one you're going to talk about in a second is going to be the answer that gets all the headlines and video clips.
right.
His answer to your question was my favorite.
Talking about relationships, though, and how you need to get not only the player but the family on board, make the player excited to see your name pop up when you call them. I get it. I totally get it, and I'd run through a wall for that guy.
I would too. And we've talked about how people are dunking on him for the stand-up, sit-down video, and he talked about that and just essentially said, like, I don't. You need to have pride in being a Colorado Buffalo. I mean, he's speaking to my soul when he says something like that. And he just said, like, when I told those boys to stand up the first time, I didn't feel like they were proud of the gear and the logo on their chest, so I made them do it again. Like, he said, I just love this game so much that I have so much pride and passion for this stuff, and I need these players to have pride and passion. And he essentially said, this whole game is about relationships, and if you can make sure that these kids know that you care about them and you care about their families, then they're going to give you their heart and soul. And that's what I task myself with every day, is making sure these guys know I care about them. And I just know, being in a room with that guy, like, he really does care about them, and I know that those players can feel it too.
When he gave his opening statement, I guess he had this quote: "The process has begun in bringing the Colorado Buffaloes back to relevance in college football." He also said about Coach Prime, "What truly gets me fired up about this guy is his tremendous football intellect."
Yes, I think it's another thing that the people who don't get why Coach Prime is having so much success or don't like it are missing. He is a football savant. And I just don't think people understand that.
Yep.
Like, I don't know. I don't know why, but he understands every facet of the game at the highest degree. He has a doctorate in football, and he's able to apply that to his coaching, and it just absolutely shines through in why he's had so much success. And Coach Flea was asked, what he's like to be around during times of adversity. And he said, well, you don't love to be around him, but the number one thing that I learned from Coach Prime when he faces adversity is he figures out what went wrong, and he is so fast at fixing it. And that again is just another feather in his cap of what makes him special. But going back to what Coach Brewster said, he really is. He's a football genius. And Coach Brew also mentioned that combination of old school and new school.
Yes.
And I think this is at the core of what is making Coach Prime so great.
Mm-hmm.
He understands all of the new age stuff, all the new era. He is the king of marketing when it comes to football. He's done it as a player, and now he's doing it as a coach. He gets that part. But he also has this old school mentality that Coach Brew talked about, which works for a coach. Now, you can't be so old school that you're out of touch with the new stuff. He's fully in touch with that. But he has this old school mentality, and he'll tell you that he's that way. That just works for football coaches. It has, all the way back to Vince Lombardi, of a disciplinarian, a guy who does not take shit from anyone, and is not going to accept anything less than your best day in and day out.
Yep. To go back to what you said about Coach Harrell, though, and how Coach Prime is on the sidelines, I love how he talked about the composure of Coach Prime in like the tough moments, like late in the games, when things are coming down to the wire, and how Coach acts on the sidelines. It's very calm, and it reassures kind of everyone on the team. Are you ready, Alyssa, to throw up this tweet? We got this. Ryan got this video of Coach Brew.
So let me set the stage here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Coach Brew was asked about the stand-up, sit-down video or whatever, and he's kind of laughing about it, like, "Oh, is that what you're talking about?" Because it was kind of danced around. And so he stands up as he's giving his answer, and I'm like looking around. I'm like, I have to get this. So you don't hear the whole thing.
Yep.
This was after he jumped out of his chair and started preaching on the subject.
Whenever you're ready.
Be excited about where you are. We're not walking softly. Okay? We're bringing it with every single thing we got. Okay? There's certain people that maybe, God, I love the game so much. I love the game so much, and the game deserves to be rewarded by how we do things and how we carry ourselves. I believe if you love football, football is going to love you back. So I don't know. You guys tell me. There's some people that all I know is this: is that I, Tim Brewster, am going to pour every ounce of everything I got into making this program great again. And if our players and every other coach responds the same way, we're going to win. What Coach Prime said, we're coming. I'm waiting to say we're here.
That's a great place.
And that's how it ended, man.
I'm waiting to say we're here too, Coach Brew.
Yeah.
And I feel very safe in the hands of people like Coach Brew and Coach Prime and Coach Flea and Coach Lewis and Coach OB and all the guys who talked today, Coach Bartolone. They know there is a different energy in that building.
Oh,
you got to experience it a little bit last year. I've been in and out of there since 2012. There's nothing like it. It's incomparable. Obviously, coaches can say things all the time, right? Any coach could go up there and say, "We coming."
Right.
You can tell these guys mean it.
Oh, yeah.
And I loved what Sean Lewis said, because he was asked a funky question about how much of your success on offense is going to be you not wanting to disappoint Coach Prime. Mm-hmm. And I loved his answer. He said, no one is going to hold me to a higher standard than I am.
Yep.
And I believe him.
Mm-hmm.
I truly believe him. But Coach Prime has brought that standard and laid it out for everyone in the building. And I don't think it even crosses their mind to dip below the standard.
Yep. It's the impact of having a pro football Hall of Famer, college football Hall of Famer as your head coach, man. It's the trickle-down effect of his greatness and what he expects is absolutely real. Let's get to your guys' questions, but before that, shout out to Breckenridge Brewery. DNVR and Breckenridge Brewery have teamed up to give away some lucky DNVR fans the ultimate game day experience for the Avs and the Nuggets. First game coming up pretty soon, March 9th. That's a Thursday. The Avs are taking on the LA Kings. We're giving away 2 tickets for Section 102, Row 5. Justin said it was close enough that you can smell the players.
Wow.
From those seats.
This is hockey?
Yes.
I don't know if you want that.
No. You also get Lexus Club access, parking pass, DNVR gear. And then on March 30th, which is a Thursday, the Nuggets will be taking on the New Orleans Pelicans. 2 tickets, courtside row 2, Lexus Club access, parking pass, DNVR gear. Head on over to thednvr.com/BreckSweeps and complete the form to enter. Must be 21 years or older. Links are also in the show description, and winners will be selected 1 week before each game. And then shout out to the American Raptors at Infinity Park. If you are an elite athlete who didn't feel that you got the opportunity you deserve, check out the opportunities at Infinity Park. The American Raptors have just moved into the new Columbia Rugby Federation. All their games are available for free, whether you want to go to them or stream them. Just head on over to their website at AmericanRaptors.com. Shout out to those guys. All right.
156 likes week.
Come on, 200. Easy money today.
Gotta get
200
today. At least.
Yes, for sure.
What happened to the 500 days?
I know, man. They're coming back.
The salad days.
Soon enough.
All right, what do we got here?
Sterling. Who do y'all think will earn more playing time, Hopkins or Miller?
So that is Adam Hopkins and Omarion Miller.
Yep. Which one did you like more?
On tape, I liked Hopkins better.
Me too.
Just sharper at this point in his career, I think. And sharpness, I think, goes a long way at that position. I think you're going to see a lot of players play, especially at wide receiver and running back. But I got more college-ready vibes from watching Adam Hopkins tape.
Yep, I agree. I don't want to say he's more explosive than Omari Miller, but I think Omari Miller is a lot more like smooth. It looks more effortless for him, but I think you got to go with the more explosiveness in Hopkins at this point. We'll see, though.
Quickly, I want to address a back and forth that's going on in the comments right now.
Okay.
Which is essentially, some people are saying CU still has good players. Other people are saying, well, if they have good players, why are they bringing in so many transfers? I think both things can be true.
Yes.
There are good players on the roster who are still going to be here. Unfortunately, as it stands right now with 95 players, there are still some players on this roster who probably don't belong here anymore. And it can also be true that this roster needed a massive overhaul to get to a talent perspective or to a talent standpoint where they can compete in the Pac-12 conference at the top of it.
For sure.
So I think I see the conversation. I just think we're being too black and white on the subject here. There is a gray area in between there, whereas good players on the roster, yes, not nearly enough, and way too many bad players.
Yep.
Or players who aren't good enough. I feel bad calling them bad. They're college football players at the Power 5 level. They're much better than most people will ever be at football. That being said, not good enough for where they want to go.
Some of them were just obvious. So, like Jordan Tyson can obviously play at a high caliber Power 5 level.
I mean,
Van Wells can do the same.
We're talking about, getting behind Oregon.
Right.
On that defense.
Christian Gonzalez.
Yes. He cooked Christian Gonzalez.
Yes.
First round pick. He returned a punt for a touchdown against Arizona State.
Late in the game that almost made CU win the game.
Yeah, it gave them a shot for sure. So all sides of that argument I think can be true.
For sure. Also, scholarship update. I think we're up to 95 now with Weaver. Writing's on the wall.
People gotta go.
Writing's on the wall.
I mean, you're looking around the room, right? You're in the locker room. If you don't know who it is, it's you.
Yep, it's one of those situations. Yep.
It's kind of awkward. I don't know. This is gonna end probably there's probably gonna be another athletic article about this. They did the whole thing of the poor players who Coach Prime didn't want to bring, which I feel for those guys. At the same time, it's just it's a different program now.
Yeah.
So there'll probably be another thing about the players Colorado pushed out.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
There was an article that someone sent me that kind of breaks down how new coaches. I don't want to speak on this too much because I don't know all the details, but essentially coaches first-year coaches can make 10 players that were previously under scholarship and kind of not take away their scholarship, but give it to another player to work out the numbers. But that player, if they stay at Colorado, still gets like the value of the scholarship, like to go to school and stuff. I don't know. I'll need to send you the link.
Yeah.
Lincoln Riley had it working last year, though, and there were some examples in there.
So essentially, like, you can keep the scholarship.
It's basically like they're giving you, I don't want to say they give you an extra 10 scholarships, but you basically have 10 scholarships that can, are maneuverable, I guess.
Interesting. I'm excited to read that.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. Next question. From Travis. Y'all see the Coach Prime vid where he spoke to the CU law students? I did not yet. I saw that Darius posted that video and reached the people. It's like 30 minutes, though. So I'll get into it at some
commitment.
point. Yeah.
What was I just thinking? Oh, someone in the comments said Thunder and Lightning, Smoke and Edwards, which made me think, what about Smoke and Fire?
Yeah.
Call Dylan Edwards Fire.
There you go. That's got to be a nickname, man.
Yeah, for sure.
There's Dylan Edwards and Kvassier Smoke is a pretty decent combo. So
I love him, and that's the first name mentioned by Bret Bartolone today was Deion Smith.
Yeah.
When he was asked about his, that was Coach Harrell.
Coach Harrell, yeah.
Yeah, was he talked about Deion Smith. First name that came out of his mouth when talking about the players at that position.
Love that guy. Next question. From Chad, RK and Jake, you think after spring we're going to get Shane Hooks? I mean, the dude's hanging out in the portal. Maybe he has to graduate to actually transfer. So we'll see.
Yeah. I like Shane Hooks on tape for what it's worth.
Oh, yeah. Angela asked, Jake and RK, Bama let Brandon Miller play last night. He brought the gun. What does this say about Bama? We know Coach Prime would have said, hell no. Oh, man, that whole situation, man.
What a, for lack of a better term, clusterfuck.
Dude scored 40 points last night, too, and was like legitimately the best player on the floor.
Well, yeah. I mean, he's like a top 3 pick.
Yeah.
If this legal stuff doesn't come back, I mean, I cannot say I'm like well versed on the subject. I just kind of caught up on it yesterday because I saw a bunch of tweets about it. So I was like, what's going on here? But the quotes from Nate Oates were so weird.
Yeah, man.
If he really brought the gun to the scene that was used to kill someone, it's not just like a wrong place, wrong time situation.
Very far from that, yes.
But at the same time, he hasn't been in any trouble with the law. And I think that no matter whether it's a college or a pro team, a lot of these places essentially say, are we the justice system or do we trust the law? And so I don't know. It's a weird situation, and it is absolutely wild that amidst all of this, he goes out and scores 41 and hits the game winner in overtime.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy, man. I'm glad that we don't have to cover that situation. I'll say that.
I know.
DCB says we're tied at 46 with 2 minutes left.
What's Stanford ranked?
They're like number 3.
Oh, come on.
This would be a massive win, yeah.
Come on, Buffs.
Jeremy right there asked, what is the DNVR plan for spring game? We're still working on that. We'll update you hopefully in the next week or so.
Yep.
Next question. From PD Swag. Question, does the Sean Lewis style of offense translate well to the NFL, particularly for QBs? Will it help Shedeur at the next level? I mean, I'm sure it'll help him as a player. I don't know if the actual style of offense is translatable to the NFL, though.
So, thanks to Patrick Mahomes, we've stopped doing the thing where we say, well, this isn't an NFL offense.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's one of the only reasons why Patrick Mahomes went as late as he did is, it's Texas Tech. It's the air raid. He just put up a bunch of numbers there. And Andy Reid and a couple other coaches essentially said, I don't care about that. Look at this guy's arm talent. He can do anything. And so they went and traded up to get him because they felt everyone else was sleeping on him. Ever since then, I haven't really heard that narrative of, well, is this really an NFL-style offense? Because, one, what I just mentioned. Two, the the college game is actually setting the standard now for what the NFL is experimenting with. I mean,
it's a trickle up in football.
It
High
is.
School up.
Yes. I mean, have you ever seen the special on the Philly special?
No, but I'd love to hear more.
It's all about essentially how a guy in a high school used it.
Oh yeah,
and that went up to a guy in a college, and that went up to Doug Peterson. And speaking of Doug Peterson, he was kind of on the forefront in that first Eagles Super Bowl when he had Carson Wentz playing at an MVP level.
Very RPO heavy.
It was all college concepts. And I remember, might have even been Vance Joseph, who was the quarterback or the coach at the time, essentially saying like, yeah, there's a lot of this like gimmicky college stuff going on right now. And it's like, now the whole NFL is that.
Didn't the Eagles put 50 on the Broncos that year too?
Yes, they did.
No.
So it's funny because now college football is the same as the NFL. And I guarantee you some of the stuff that Sean Lewis is running, and there'll be something new he puts in this year that you'll see on a Sunday later in the season.
For sure.
So I'm not worried about that. I will say there's a lot of quick game in this offense, which doesn't necessarily directly translate to NFL throws. He's not going to have to make quite as many tight window throws as you have to make in the NFL. These are all good things for Colorado.
Right.
And so I don't necessarily think that narrative matters as much anymore, but I think you'll see him get an opportunity to put everything on display.
To that point, I think what I meant was the pace of play is not translatable to the NFL.
No.
You can't run 90 plays a game in the NFL. It just doesn't work out that way. Clock runs all the time.
Yeah, for sure.
1 minute left.
Oh, come on.
Down by 2. Next one. Angela again, Jake and RK. Is it fair to say that CU can now recruit on the level of Bama and Georgia? CU beat out Oklahoma and West Virginia for X Weaver. It was easy work. Oh my gosh, we didn't even talk about the recruit that listed the top 5.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yes, I would say first they have to enter the conversation a little bit below Bama and Georgia. Bama and Georgia are obviously the cream of the crop. I said top 5 is what I'm expecting this year. There's a whole other level to get up to number 1, but I certainly believe they can get in conversations and beat out those schools on a 1-to-1 basis. They're just, in my opinion, probably not going to be able to do it on a whole class basis quite at that level just yet.
But if you look at a bunch of these top 5s and stuff that are coming out, they're knocking on the door.
That's what I mean is like, they're going to beat out Bama and Georgia for a player this year. But the thing is, like, what was the 5 stars? It was like Bama got 21 or something.
Yeah, not even close.
No one else had more than like 5.
Yeah.
It's hard to get up to that level.
Right. On that, Aaron Butler, who is a 4-star athlete in this upcoming class, 75th overall player according to 247 Sports Composite, 7th athlete overall. List of top 5, Bama, Georgia,
there you go.
Oregon, Washington, CU.
Interesting list there.
Yeah.
And great to be on it.
The first line of his 247 Sports scouting report from Greg Biggins says, Butler is a dangerous two-way player who could end up at corner or receiver in college.
Why not both?
There you go.
Only one place you could do it, my guy.
Exactly. We'll see. But recruiting news never stops. All right, we got a handful more questions. I got to get moving soon. So Jeff Nelson, what's up, fellas? Need a prediction of CU win this year. I got them at 7 wins, and the next year at 8.
I've decided something, Jake.
Yes?
I'm not doing any more win predictions until our last show before the season starts.
Can I also follow in that suit? Okay, great.
Because I started this, and then I moved up, and then I moved up, and then I don't want to keep moving my prediction. So our last show before the season, we'll put our official. We could maybe even go game by game.
Yeah, sure.
And give our official win projection.
So there you go. Elfredi, RK, did you feel like they are a championship coaching staff?
Yes. I've never seen a coaching staff that if you made all of their voices the same, you wouldn't have known who was talking.
100%.
They're so much on the same page, and not in like a cliche repeating the company line type of way, just like everyone understands the mission, everyone understands the message, everyone understands the goal, and they're all talking about achieving it in the same way. And you know, it just goes back to leadership. And obviously, who was it that just talked about Coach Prime as a leader? Was it Bill O'Boyle?
It was multiple.
Someone mentioned the number one word that comes to my mind when I think of Coach Prime is leader. And I think it might have been Sean Lewis, actually. And I think that shines through in what I just mentioned. Mm-hmm. He leads in such a fashion that everyone understands exactly where they're going. And Bill O'Boyle said everyone knows exactly where they stand with him at all times. There's no bullshit. There's no beating around the bush. And so, yeah, I've never seen a coaching staff so, for lack of a better term, on brand with each other.
Yep, they're definitely on the same page. The message has been received.
It's pretty cool. It's actually really cool to see.
It is.
A lot of times with these coaching staffs, you get to places where each guy you can tell thinks they could do it better.
Right. The ego.
Yes, 100%. And the defensive coordinator doesn't really think the offensive coordinator knows what he's doing. And the wide receiver coach thinks he should be the offensive coordinator.
Right.
And the offensive coordinator thinks he should be the head coach. I mean, I'm not exaggerating. Like, I've literally seen that happen in Boulder.
Yep.
This does not feel that way at all. I mean, Coach Bartolone, who goes from being the offensive coordinator to being the wide receivers coach, spoke glowingly about Sean Lewis.
Oh, yeah.
There wasn't a sliver of me that thought he was thinking I could do it better than Sean Lewis.
For sure.
He's just like, everyone has their own spin on it, and I love Sean's spin on it.
Yeah.
It's cool.
It's really cool, man. It's definitely a special coaching staff. It's been a lot of fun already. I can't wait to see as we move on. Last question from Bryant. What does it mean when a recruit has been reoffered? So when a recruit was offered by last coaching staff and they get offered by this staff, that's being reoffered.
Yeah, so you'll have guys who, obviously Coach Prime's giving out offers for 26, 27 right now, right?
Yeah.
The same thing was true of the previous staff.
Mm-hmm.
So that guy holds a Colorado offer. He's going to find out from his new coaching staff whether or not it still stands. If it does, he's quote-unquote reoffered.
Yep. There you go, guys. Good show. I'm already excited for next Thursday's show.
I know. This was great. Again, shout out to the team up there at CU for making this possible. It was a really enlightening day. And, I mean, no surprise here, but it just made me more excited about this team.
Same here. It's going to be a lot of fun as we move through this offseason. About a month away from spring practices, Ryan. Football it's coming.
It's creeping towards us.
Almost there. Shout out to everyone watching. We're about 500 viewers right now, so 220 likes. I feel like we should have a little bit more, maybe.
We could do better than that.
Also, guys, we do have the actual podcast version of this show, and we'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe to us on your favorite podcasting app and consider leaving a 5-star review. We'd really appreciate it. We'll be back tomorrow, normal time. Till then, guys, go Buffs.
Go Buffs.